right? I've been in churches where I'm like, you know, let's bring hymnals in for the women to sing during our conference, and they're like, well, we don't have any hymnals.
We could get on a soapbox right now.
It just there's plenty of meat in the praise choruses and the worship songs in many of them, but this is such a historical piece of work, but also such a deeply spiritual thing.
You say in your book, worship changes us even in the desert, where you don't have the answers, you don't know where that next job's going to come from, you're still in the throes of grief, but worship can turn things around.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love the record in the scriptures when the Israelites, they're screaming, they're shrieking and wailing before God about how awful their life is. And then at the end of Exodus 2, God hears and God remembers and God listens with an intent to respond. And then a couple chapters later, it says, when the Israelites knew that God remembered them, they bowed and they worshiped. I love that.
We are not victims of our circumstances.
No.
Higher hands
Yeah.
are all over it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, as I was reading about change and all the ways that change can affect our lives, I mean, even a physical move, you know, changing neighborhoods, involve grief. Any kind of loss is a grieving process.
Yeah.
We're leaving what we know. Relationships are disrupted. That's a grief.
It is. And we don't do very well at, we've kind of compartmentalized grief as somebody has died and that's when you grieve. But grief is so broad. You know, you've lost a home or lost your spouse or lost your hope or lost a child or lost your childhood or lost, you know, your health or a breast or a dream. It's huge. And when we stop, I open all of my conferences where I work with transitions, just asking women how many are in transition, and you know, a handful raise their hands. By the time I ask them all the different types, 99% of the people are raising their hands multiple times. We are in such places of transition and we don't notice.
So few constants in life.
It's true. It's true.
Really.
So, but stopping to notice is vital, because we are not going to be able to move into that place of worship in the wilderness if we haven't even recognized, wow, this is a wilderness and I do not know how to get out of it.
As you go through this book, here's what you're going to be encouraged to do. You're choosing to feel, to follow God, to find meaning, to be found in the dark, to flourish, to focus, to feast, choosing spiritual friends, choosing to find fun, and to not forget, choosing freedom. And when, with your help and encouragement, we choose each of these things, amplified chapter by chapter, we are led to worship.
Yeah.
That says something's happened in that dry place,
Yes.
that desert in our soul.
When we're in the middle of the wilderness, it is a divine opportunity. It really is a divine opportunity to encounter the God of the wilderness. And
Oh, I like that. The God of the wilderness.
He's no less God just because we're in a big place of sand, you know. Just because it's 120 degrees and
There's no water.
and no water and no shade. You know, God is still God, and holding on to that is imperative for us. We have powerful choices we can make in these powerless places. It's not a bad thing to be in the wilderness.
How long did it take you to go from wailing and squirming and panicking to that place?
I think it's sort of like this, you know. Oh, here I am in the wilderness, but I'm content here, and here I'm in the wilderness, and I'm really not happy at all. I think it is sort of a zigzag, up and down roller coaster kind of thing. But I think I really started realizing God's faithfulness about 9 months in. And I was just at one of these turning points where I was saying, I don't want to be living like this. This is terrible. And I just felt like God saying to me, I didn't ask you to live like this. What do you mean? Of course you did. You called us into this. Oh, but that's not how I meant it. You know, and he began to redefine for me what it would look like. And that was a point where I had to look back and say, well, you know, even though I was terrified, you still took care of us. And so you're inviting me into this new place now I bet you can take care of us here. It was a turning point for me, and it really, my family was very glad that it was a turning point for me. It's good.
And you've got a great final reminder, Jane. Your book says, the desert isn't forever. Life is about seasons, and God has good purpose in every one of them, right?
Right. And the Israelites did make it to the Promised Land. They
Oh,
really, really did. And I can't say that grace points or the choices in there are going to shorten the desert, but I can promise that they will change us in the middle of unchanging circumstances by the God who never changes.
Wonderful, wonderful. My very favorite verse, when you say grace, it truly is amazing. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8. Here's a rich promise for you in the desert place. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Even if you're unemployed. Been there, done that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jane, Grace Points available everywhere, a real encouragement, perhaps for such a time as this in your life. Thank you so much for coming again.
Thank you, Maura. It's good to be together.